Welcome to Makin It, a podcast where dreamers are catching their dreams. This is your host, James Demarco. Sit back and get inspired to make it happen. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Makin It, Dreamers Catching Their Dreams. I'm your host, James Demarco. I'm here with someone very special and courageous. His name is Andy Wakefield, and he embodies living your dream and putting yourself out on the line for what you believe in the midst of the storm. And I felt that it was integral to have him on here, especially because his dream baby film, Protocol 7, is playing right now across the country in Regal Cinemas. And it deals with a very special topic, and Andy will describe that. So welcome, Andy.
Great to be here, James. Thanks very much for having me on.
Andy, it's a pleasure. So, of course, I already have seen the film. I know about the film, but let's give listeners a little bit of your background in your transition into the film world. So you were a gastroenterologist, and I still believe you are. And how long did you have that practice for?
Yeah, I was an academic gastroenterologist working at the Royal Free Hospital in London with a team of researchers looking at Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. Graduated in 81 and was working with that team for a very long time running that until 1995. And in 1995, I started getting calls from parents whose children had been perfectly well and then received a vaccine, often MMR vaccine, the measles, mumps, rubella, and had then lost all their skills. They'd become autistic. And I said, why are you calling me? I'm a gastroenterologist. I know nothing about autism. When I was at medical school, 1 in 10,000 children maybe had it. It was incredibly rare. We weren't even taught about it. And we investigated these children because they had severe gastrointestinal symptoms that doctors had not taken seriously. And of course, the parents were right. The children had an inflammatory bowel disease. When we treated that, not only did the bowel disease get better, but the autism improved dramatically. And that was fascinating. So we had to take this issue of the vaccine very seriously. Unfortunately, that was a turning point in my career.
Okay.
I had to decide at that sort of junction, do I work for the pharmaceutical industry or government policy, or do I work for the child sitting across the desk? And that was an easy choice, but the consequences were far-reaching. And I ultimately, they came after me. I mean, everybody now post-COVID is familiar with the cancel culture and doctors and scientists' career being destroyed.
Yes.
By questioning the conventional narrative. But then it was very unusual, but it happened to me, and I decided, for various reasons, to go into filmmaking. And one of the main reasons was that people had come to me over the years from the pharmaceutical industry and from federal agencies such as the CDC or from the Department of Health in the UK and said, we've done a terrible thing, here's the evidence. And I became a repository for whistleblowers, amazing stories. And I decided that these should be made into film. If I couldn't help these children in the clinic, then I was going to sort of advance their cause by bringing light and attention to their suffering and to what had almost certainly precipitated their condition. So that was the beginning.
So let me back up.
Go ahead.
So you actually were in the height of your career of research, and these patients and their families came to you, and now you're putting yourself on the line for them for what you found your research to prove, and you wanted to help them. That's miraculous, because that's an ethical, I think, oath that you probably take also, as a doctor, but it's a testament to your morals as well. So you actually put yourself on the line. So what does that look like to make that choice? Your profession over what you see is really happening and what you need to do to take action. What does that look like?
It depends on why you went into medicine in the first place. I come from a family of 6 generations of doctors who all trained at the same medical school, and our guiding principles, including putting the patients first above all other considerations, no compromise. And so I didn't go into medicine to make money or to chase some illusory dream of winning Nobel Prize or anything like that. I went into simply
To make a difference, to make a difference.
be a benefit.
To
That's
heal
right, to be a
people.
benefit to my patients. And so it was a simple choice. It wasn't a difficult choice. It was, this is what I went into this for. This is what I stand for. It wasn't particularly courageous, but it was a moral imperative, and as you say, an ethical imperative. It's what you it's part of the Hippocratic Oath, and it comes into conflict when you have a pharmaceutical industry that really runs the medical industry, certainly
Yes.
in Western civilization, and inevitably at some point you're going to come into, you're going to be on a collision course with these people, and that was my collision course. They were much bigger and more powerful than I was, but I just had to find an alternative way of contributing to this issue.
And so what was it like to have to give up that profession? Like, what did that feel like? Because that was like a main pivot point for you to following this new path in a different way, which happens to a lot of us in our lives. But this is this is like major trauma that you must have went through. Or was it something that was easy for you to just let go of and to move into this other space of bringing the messages through film?
It was very difficult, and it was difficult because of the way in which they did it. And the way they did it is that they accuse you of fraud and abuse and distortion of data and this kind of thing. And so that's exactly what they did with me. And you can destroy a scientist or a doctor's career in 5 minutes. If you own a newspaper or own a TV network, you can destroy a career in 5 minutes.
Yes.
It takes a lifetime, if ever, to reconstruct that career, that reputation. And it's futile even trying in many cases. You've got to circumvent it and say, this doesn't matter. This isn't about me. This is something much more important. And so get myself, my ego out of the way and focus on the real issue. And but they made it very, very painful. And when you start to have the letters after your name stripped away sort of
Yes.
one by one, after you've worked extremely hard through examinations to gain those credentials, initially it's difficult, but then you realize that it's actually a mechanism of control.
Yes.
We can give you this and we can take it away unless you comply with our diktat, and that's exactly what it was. When I realized that, then take it away.
It was
take
easy
it.
to
I
let
don't
go
care.
of. It wasn't your true
It's
freedom.
easy
It
to let
wasn't
go.
true freedom anyway.
No, it becomes a burden. It becomes a weight off your shoulders once you get rid of it.
And then you could truly be who you were meant to be here and contribute. That's the way I see it, and at least for you, that's how I see it. So this occurred back in 2010, and then you progressed into the filmmaking, dabbling and researching and telling stories. And your first documentary was called Vaxxed. And from there, you did a series of other ones before you ventured into this feature film. So was that gratifying for you to then move into that space and tell your truth?
Absolutely. I loved it. I mean, I love documentary filmmaking, but what I really wanted to do was I'd written this screenplay about this particular story, Protocol 7, the latest movie, back in 2012. I'd waited and waited and waited for the court case to play out. That was taking forever, and the people were suffering in the meantime. So I just drew a line in the sand and said, right, that's it. The movie's going to come out. Come hell or high water. It doesn't matter whether Merck, the company involved, come after me. People are suffering as a consequence, and they need to know this. This is so much in the public interest, and yet the public are not aware of it. And so I told this whistleblower's story in the movie Protocol 7, which, as you say, is out now, playing in Regal cinemas across the country, in Cineplex cinemas across Canada. It's won 27 film awards already. It's only been out a couple of days. So and had the privilege of meeting you in New York to watch it there. So
yes, New York and LA.
That's right, at the premieres there. That was a lot of fun.
So was it hard to bring? You found support along the way, I assume, to bring your documentaries and now Protocol 7 to life. you met the people that believed in what you believed in and backed you.
That's exactly right. And of course, once you've made one film and two films and three, people say, okay, you've proven you can do this, do it again. Here's the money to do it. And so we were able to get some very loyal backers to get us through to this film, which was considerably, financially considerably more than anything we'd ever done before. And it's worked out very well. And I think that, going forward, we'll be making plenty more films. The thing about the pharmaceutical companies and the government is they give you plenty to write about as a screenwriter.
And it has, as far as being ruined and, the media can ruin you. We've seen that play out in the last 5 years. And people who do have the research to back it, it's disregarded. And it's a travesty to the public. I really feel that. So I believe in you telling your truth. And something about making it is when you have to leave, when you're pushed right out the door, as you were, or whether you make the choice, you don't know if you're going to have the support along the way, but you did eventually. And people believed in the truth that you were telling from your research and were willing to help you with your documentaries and now this great feature film. And I think that's a testament to people out there to trust that you will be surrounded by the people that you're supposed to be surrounded by once you take that leap into to me, it's real freedom. Like, to me, you're living your true free life. You might not have your medical license, but to me, you will always be that doctor, and maybe a better doctor on a dimensional level that is so much greater than being a doctor in the physical office.
Well, it's very kind of you to say so, James. You're right. What we're encountering now is huge censorship to try and prevent the news of this film spreading. And so it really comes down to your listeners, people going to watch the movie and telling their friends about the movie and getting them to watch the movie. It is so important. But it's a measure of the importance of the film, how intense the censorship is at the moment, trying to stop the word of this film getting out, trying to stop it playing in festivals, in cinemas.
And it actually goes against the First Amendment. If you really want to go back, freedom of speech, religion, politics, and that seems to have just gone out the door and be used for corporate America's selfish, whatever they need, that's how they use it. So I think that you have taken this great leap, and I am honored to have been led to you because I have been into the health and wellness industry on my own journey with health for over 30 years and doing my own research. So when I met you, I terribly resonated with you. And I just felt like I completely understood your calling and also where you are coming from. And I believe in the message of the movie that also is a true story. And it's playing out right now in the courts for listeners out there. You can look it up if you wish. What is the case? If we can say it?
Yeah, please go to protocol7.movie, protocol7, number 7.movie. And everywhere that the movie's playing is listed there. Go to the drop-down menu, the top left-hand side. It'll tell you where the showings are, when they are. And then it comes out on streaming, video on demand, and download very soon thereafter. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to watch this film. Share it with your friends. Share it with all those people with whom you've been arguing for years over the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, saying, I don't believe what you say about vaccine. Well, I don't believe what you say. And where's the science? Where's the evidence? Right. This is factual. If this were not factual, then we would be pursued and sued for defamation. You better believe that. And that isn't happening. And it isn't happening because defamation is about discovery. And they do not want discovery because actually what they did, I think, was in many ways far worse than we portrayed in the film. So,
of course, yes.
It's going to be an interesting next few months.
And what's been done the last 5 years has been way more damaging than people realize. Yes. And interestingly enough, the truth always comes to light, and the data will always come out. But it is interesting how Your film, though, is one of the first concrete films to challenge this based on a true story. And it's to waken people up. And everybody out there, I urge you to see it, especially the parents, because your life is in your hands and your children's hands and the future. And what Andy has done and his team is to take actual facts, events, and research to bring to life this story. And the performances, Andy, I have to say, are Oscar worthy. What was it like, as a first-time director? You directed documentary films, but what was it like directing this?
Well, I'd studied direction for many years as a sort of, maybe I'll have to do this one day, so I better know what I'm talking about. And the key to it all, and this is the big secret, is that it's all preparation. If you go onto the set and you're prepared, you know what shots you want and what inflections you want and the spoken word, all this kind of thing. You go on there and the actors who've been in this for a lot longer than you have say, "Wow, this guy knows what he's doing." No, you haven't. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. And you're surrounded by great people who kind of help you through the process and make you look good. But it really comes down to preparation. Prepare. That's 90% of it. And the rest, you just fly by the seat of your pants. And with good team, it works magic.
But did you ever think, after looking back all these years, that you would now be here as a director winning 27 festival awards for your feature film that's out right now in Regal Cinemas?
I did not. That's a very short and simple answer. I did not.
But that's what Making It is about. It's about these dreams that come alive that sometimes you don't realize you're being called for. It's a greater calling. And I think you answered the call and have demonstrated that anybody at any stage, whether they're at the top of their game or the bottom, can take a risk, whether they're forced to or not, and make a difference in the world and in other people's lives. And I am grateful to have met you and to have you here, because I think you're a shining example of that.
Thank you very much, James.
I can't say enough.
Wonderful. Well, I'll keep you up to date with how things are going.
Yes.
And, the film's success. We go into international distribution soon, so that's going to be exciting, because this is a pervasive problem and this vaccine is used ubiquitously around the world, so it's relevant. It's relevant to everybody.
And we need to, listeners out there, this is the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
Correct.
So that is what we're talking about. I know people that have experienced what Andy has researched 30 years ago. So this is the truth, as more will be revealed, right?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
So thanks for joining me, and everyone, don't forget, hit your cinemas to see Protocol 7. You could find them on Instagram as well, and you're on Facebook?
Yep, we're on Facebook. We're on all platforms, at least at this stage. So
all platforms.
Protocol7.movie.
Protocol7.movie, and you could keep up to date there, listeners, to see when it will be streaming if you can't make it out to the theater. So thank you so much, Andy. Thank you, Andy. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Making It. I'm your host, James Demarco. Keep dreaming, and I'll see you next time.